In this video, we're going to cover some of the new things that came out as part of Power BI's February 2026 update, including things like the input slicer, improved error dialogues, and the new TABLEOF function. All of that and more, so without further ado, let's jump in. So let's start by covering some of these features that will be deprecated soon. Hierarchy options in Scorecards will be deprecated in April. Scorecards, if you're not familiar with them, is basically a Power BI service feature that lets you create KPI cards based on data that you have in your reports. It's a way to create executive level dashboards focused on performance against goals, and I actually have a video covering this feature. Hierarchies in Scorecards provides you a way to group these up, but as of next month, this feature will be deprecated. And just to note that Scorecards itself is not being deprecated, only the hierarchy feature within Scorecards. So if you're still using the hierarchies with Scorecards, make sure you stop using it before it gets deprecated on the 15th of April. The old way to import CSV and Excel in Power BI service will also be deprecated. It doesn't affect you if you get your data from the main button instead of the one at the bottom when you're importing data in the Power BI service, or if you're using get data from Excel or CSV from Power BI desktop. So if you're using this specific legacy way to bring in data, you need to make sure that you kind of move on to using one of the new modern ways to pull in data from CSV or Excel, because this old way to import data will be deprecated very soon. Copilot prompt input limit is now increased from 500 characters to 10,000 characters. So these are the prompts in places like the standalone Copilot, the report pane, apps, mobile, and embed. This character limit increase allows you to create more verbose prompts if you're using Copilot with Power BI. Text slicers are now renamed as input slicers, and they have now become generally available. This feature lets you type filters instead of selecting them from options like the other slicers do. It's great because it gives you a lot more flexibility with your filtering options. This menu, for example, lets you choose things like contains, starts with, is any, which gives you more control over your actual search strings. The ability to paste your selections into the button and list slicers were implemented a few months ago. This feature now also works with the input slicer. So if you have multiple selections that you have in your clipboard, you can simply paste it into this visual, which will automatically select those that you have in your list. The card visuals horizontal column default is set to 5, but now it's being increased to 10. This change simply affects how many cards are going to be laid out horizontally before it starts to show that horizontal scroll bar. It doesn't mean that you can only add up to 10 cards in the same visual. It just means that that default is now increased from 5 to 10. Also, a pretty cool feature with the card visual this month is the categories that allows you to use it as cross filters. These categories will now be selectable, which means you can use this to filter other visuals in the page. Default fonts like the Segoy UI will now work on non-window devices instead of falling back to those ugly Times New Roman if it doesn't support any of the default fonts. This means that if you're using any of these default fonts, your reports should look the same even on a non-Windows device. Preview visuals will now be marked with a preview on its label to let you know which features are still in preview as opposed to generally available. And I guess the reason for this addition is that you generally want to avoid using preview features, especially if you have or working on production reports, as they can change drastically from their preview states to when they're generally available. They will also be grouped in their own section below the visualizations lists, which also shows any other visuals that are unpinned if you have any. You can reset these options by simply clicking restore to default visuals, which funny enough not only restores your visuals and how they're laid out to their original state, it also unhides some of those visuals that are sort of legacy, like the card visual, which is the predecessor to the new card visual right now, which a lot of my clients still use, and they sometimes wonder why they can't see it in the visualizations pane anymore. Drop-down menus in conditional formatting dialog boxes are now wider, and it also shows tooltips. It's actually a small pain point of mine since I can't drag these to be wider or hover over any of them if the field names that I have are too long. Error dialogs on Power BI Desktop are now improved, giving you a bit more verbose error rather than something obscure like how it used to do before. So hopefully this will make it easier to debug issues in the future. Pie charts performance in Azure Maps has been improved, so it should render faster than before. Persistent report filters in org apps are now available. This feature already exists in the workspace apps, the predecessor to the org apps right now. And it's essentially a way for the org app to remember what selections you've made before, so that when you come back to this report next time, it keeps all of the filters that you've selected, saving you time from having to refilter back to those pages or filters again. A reset to default option has also been added. Again, something that already existed in the workspace apps, which basically just resets your selections back to the original state. Lastly, a new function has been added, TABLEOF. This is essentially a counterpart of the nameOf function, which if you don't know already, nameOf is really one of those functions that were never really explained, and it's just bundled up as part of the fields parameter feature. The nameOf function basically returns name of objects like tables, columns, and measures. And since the return of this function is dynamic, when these objects get renamed in the future, it doesn't break any of your measures or calculations that use the nameOf function. TableOf works exactly the same way, except that instead of returning a string, it actually returns the table itself. From the example here in the documentation, it seems to be mostly beneficial when it's used in combination with UDFs, and I don't actually have my head wrapped around it yet, so if you want me to cover it in the future, let me know in the comment section box below. And that's really it for the features that I found pretty interesting this month. If you want to read the whole blog post, I'll leave a link to it in the description box below as well, so you can check it out yourself.